Hey guys, I decided to make this video because on previous videos, at least one or two people, it might have been one person who commented twice on two different videos, but I really want to thank you so much right now because I was like, okay, I finished rewatching Arch's Horus Heresy videos, and then I'm like, okay, I got two options. I can go back to my political videos, or I can go watch the end of my Star Trek videos. And like, I'm working, I don't have time to make a new playlist, and I'm like, okay, I have to listen to something while I'm like doing my work. I can learn and I can do my mindless work, and it's a lot of entertainment for me. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do either of those two things. I don't feel like watching my political videos. I don't feel like watching my Star Trek videos. Oh, what am I going to do? And then I remembered somebody said that I should go watch Nettles change the channel videos. And, oh my God. Thank you. Whoever you are. I wish I could remember your name right now, but I can't. And I'm so appreciative that you guys, one or two of you guys, pointed out that whole thing. Now, I recommend everyone go watch it, but if you just want a summary, I'll do my best here, because each of those videos, there's 8 of them, and they're hours and hours long. I think altogether, like, those 8 videos are at least 10 hours. So, I'm just going to kind of summarize it. I'm not going to mention everything that was mentioned, but, God. And I also want to point out right now that I am kind of, like, like, a lot of the controversy that Nettles talks about, you know, like, people trying to get clout off of this, I'll admit right now, yes, by bringing all this stuff up, I am trying to get some attention to my own channel. I'm just putting it out there, okay? That I am kind of doing that. But it's because it's something interesting to talk about. And it actually provides a really good life lesson. And I kind of want to relate it to things that happen in my life and go from there. But I'll save that for another time, because this is not about me. It really isn't. And I just want to say that, man, God, were my instincts correct? Now, again, I shouldn't just take Nettles' word about everything, but, like, I'm listening to the points he's making, and he's going through the Change the Channel document, and he's offering legitimate criticisms for all the points that people make. And he starts off the documentary mentioning the 3 people whose names are not in my head right now, because these are all stream of consciousness videos that I make. But he mentions the 3 out of the 40 people in the video, in his first video, and who actually had somewhat decent points in the Change the Channel document. And one of those people actually came out later and said that they regret getting in on that document in the first place, because they realized that basically everyone else had really petty views and really petty points to make. And he goes after a lot of people. Nettles, I mean, he goes after a lot of people, and he makes really good points about a lot of them. I mean, Lindsay Ellis, for example, again, her entire career was she took Nostalgia Critic, sprung off his fame, and made a name for herself. And, like, she seems legitimately talented, as a lot of people have said, but she's such a psycho that I really wish that she had never got fame in the first place. I really wish that, you know, she had not been able to make a career out of this. But at the same time, I guess she did have talent, and she did kind of earn some of the stuff. I just really find it absolutely disturbing how she stabbed Nostalgia Critic and Rob Walker in the back, despite the fact that they did everything in their power to make her career viable in the first place. And she ended her own career anyway. She's off the internet now. She's writing books occasionally, but she's not making content anymore. And she's raising a family. Now, I fear for the children's futures, but it's not really any of my business, honestly. If they turn out to be wonderful, like, well-adjusted members of society, then I'll eat my sock, I guess. Actually, no, I really want that to be the case. I really hope that she's moved on and that, like, she realizes all of it was bullshit and that, like, she raises a wonderful family. I hope everything works out for her. I just, as it stands right now, everything she said in that document was BS. Now, Nettles goes over a lot of different people. Dr. Gonzo was definitely the most insane, as Nettles says. The dude sounds like a mass event kind of dude. Like, his part in that Change the Channel thing really sounds like a manifesto, and it's like absolutely disturbing. Like what happened in that. Just absolutely, like, terrible. Because the dude, it's the most petty stuff ever. And he's like, no one wants to talk to me. No one wants to be my friend. No one's returning my messages. And, like, as Nettles goes point by point through this dude's, like, bullet points, and then he reveals that everything Dr. Gonzo said is a provable lie. I'm like, me and a lot of people inside the comments are like, yeah, no wonder no one wanted to talk to this dude. He's insane. He's legitimately insane. And again, a lot of the people, like, their points are, like, really just petty. Oh my god. And dude, I knew the Linkara ones, the Linkara section, would be the most frustrating to me, because I was a fan of Linkara. Like, I didn't read American comic books, but I watched some of his videos on American comic books, and I went to Yamacon at least 2 years that he went, and I talked to him after the event. I was like one of the last people to leave the event in 2 of his panels, 2 different years, and I talked to the guy, and he seemed like a cool dude. Like, I enjoyed his stuff to some degree. Like, again, I'm not a comic book fan. I don't read American comic books. I own a few, but, like, the one I really enjoyed... No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into my preference for comics. That's not relevant. Anyways, but, like, I talked to the guy, and I knew that, like, in hindsight, like... So he did Linkara, I'm talking about. He did a collaboration with a nostalgia critic on one of the Star Trek movies, and I remember watching that back in the day, and I really didn't like how nasty they played their characters. Like, they act like they absolutely hate each other, and Linkara acts kind of insufferable. And again, he's playing a character, so, like, don't base, like, his personality on that character. So when I talked to him in person both times, he was a relatively decent person. And the second time he said, like, oh yeah, I kind of remember you from the last panel. And there was, like, 3 years apart between, like, the 2 times I talked to him or whatever. So that he kind of remembered me at all was, like, you know, kind of nice. But anyways, I knew that listening to his part in this whole drama would be the one that'd be like, oh god, this is gonna like reshape everything I thought about this guy. And I know for a fact that it's going to be awful. Maybe I poisoned the well for myself a little bit, but I mean, I'm talking about a guy who criticizes the comic book industry, despite the fact that the comic book industry in America is so awful that either Demon Slayer, somebody said in my comments, or My Hero Academia, or Berserk, or one of those series, I think it was Demon Slayer. But Demon Slayer, by itself, sold more copies of its books than the entire American comic book industry for all of their series combined did 1 year. And that is pathetic. And a lot of Linkara's current, like, a lot of his current complaints about the comic book industry is that they have any fan service at all. Like, he complained that Starfire was swimming naked in her backyard pool because it degraded women. And one of the things that Linkara talks about in the Change the Channel document, which I was never going to read, it's 70 pages, and listening to Nettles explain it, like, after like 2 pages, I probably would have given up and just said, like, this is all BS. And I'm glad I am listening to somebody who actually had the patience to go through it. And if you have, go watch his videos if you want to. Again, I'm warning you, they're 10 hours long. I'm just trying to summarize some of it. I'm not going to go through all the creators. But, like, Linkara, he complained about the assimilation scene in one of the anniversary episodes. Now, I watched, I think, the first one where they did kick Asia. And then I'm like, it was a little bit too awkward for me because their acting is deliberately terrible, and even when they try to act, it is so obviously that they're amateurs that it even back then, before the term cringe became really mainstream, I'm just like, it's not really my thing. It's just kind of awkward. But I got through Kick-Assia, and after that, I didn't even know I heard that they made at least one other anniversary video. I didn't realize they made 4 of them. But in one of them, Nostalgia Critic dies. I never believed that for a second, by the way. Nostalgia Critic eventually did come back. It turned out to all be a dream or whatever, or he was transported to the afterlife, and eventually he came back. And it's absolutely hilarious to hear all these people in this comic section, like in this document, I mean, complaining, oh no, the Nostalgia Critic's dead! He was only taking up the entire channel! We never got any attention to our channels! How are we gonna survive without the Nostalgia Critic? Even though the Nostalgia Critic being gone means that all our channels could get more attention. And I'm just like, oh my god. I was like, they were so afraid that Channel Awesome would fail without the Nostalgia Critic that they would have no platform whatsoever, from the sounds of it. That seems to be the assumption that they were making, but it's never stated anywhere in the document. But they were all just so freaked out that the Nostalgia Critic was retiring his character. Which again, when I heard he was, like, retiring his character, I'm like, whatever. And then, like, a year or 2 later, Nostalgia Critic came back. Or whatever. I think he did. I just, like, again, I was like, whatever. Because I was just like, man, I had no personal drama at all with the channel. I just thought, you know, maybe I could become a contributor, and then I'm like, nah, it's too much work, and I moved on with my life. But, like, Linkara in one of the anniversary specials turns into, like, a Borg character, and he's supposed to assimilate, like, Lindsay Ellis. And listening to the scene, it's obviously not like an R joke. It's not like a grape joke, okay? I hate that the sense of that word, but, like, YouTube hates that word, so it's very obviously not that kind of joke. It's she's being assimilated, a character overhears it, and that character assumes that despite the absolutely wacky noises going on, that it's somehow them having sex. There's no mention of any, like, assault or, you know, R-word stuff in there. It's like the guy is an idiot, and he thinks that these mechanical sounds he's hearing that sound like a construction zone is them having sex, as if he doesn't understand what sex is. Like, there's no, like, our joke in there. But Nostalgia Critic, and especially Linkara, and I guess Rob too, were so afraid that this would come off as an R joke that Doug wasn't sure he wanted to include it. Linkara was like, this is against my feminist principles. And I'm just like, God, these people really are just brain dead, mentally ill leftists. And it's that's a kind of reductionist going through it, because a lot of these people are just divas. Like, they're trying to, like, do a classic leftist cancellation, but listening to Nettles and listening to, like, him actually go through bullet point by bullet point what these people are saying is like, these people are just divas. Not every single one of them is just about them being leftist or trying to, like, fight the sexism or anything like that. A lot of these people, and again, 3 of them apparently had relatively good, like, complaints, but it was nothing earth-shattering. And all the crap piled on top of it by all the 37 made, like, these 3 get drowned in just the excrement of everything that was going on. But, like, Linkara himself, my problem with him is that the comic book industry is failing. So, you got a bunch of young men and teenage boys reading this comics. Of course there's going to be fan service in it, bro. Like, they're trying to get young boys to read this stuff. There's, like, these aren't comic books aimed at young women. They're going to put in hot females into the comic books. So, of course, duh, there's going to be fan service in it. There just is. And he's, like, arguing against one of the only good things about comics nowadays, that there's still at least some fan service in it. So I knew his part in the whole, like, change the channel controversy was going to be petty and stupid, and it was going to be leftist BS. And again, I talked to this guy twice in person, and I didn't know him personally. I just had 2 conversations with him, with, like, 2 or 3 other guys, both times, 2 or 3 different guys, both times, obviously. And, like, I just, like, this dude seems cool. Like, I can't vouch for his character in person, but then Doug goes to Lindsay Ellis and says that, no worry, I'll tone it down so it doesn't come off as an art joke, and I will make sure to let you have the final word if you want to keep the scene. But Linkara keeps trying to white knight over and over and over again, and apparently it became a running joke during production that Linkara just would not shut up about it. And I'm not surprised at all, because that's who he is. That's who he became. That's what his videos became about, is just white knighting for women who don't read comic books. And Lindsay Ellis, eventually, she saw the scene and she was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care. It's perfectly okay. And Linkara still bitches about it inside the Change the Channel document. And then Lindsay Ellis complains about it, even though she greenlighted it. Like, she admitted that she greenlighted it. But then when the Change the Channel thing came up, she was like, ooh, you gave me a knife. I'm going to start stabbing Sizzler with the rest of you. I just, like, I'm I'm proud of myself. I am so proud of myself that I didn't read the Change the Channel document. I just had this feeling that it was all BS, that nothing ever came out of it, therefore that it was all pointless, that it was all lies, or it was all just over exaggerations, that there's no sexism here, that it was just sexist jokes said now and again. Because that was my understanding. It was this, that Doug made a few sexist jokes and everyone else dogpiled him for it, and they just tried to cancel him. And it was so much more than that. It was literally 37 people bringing up every personal grievance possible. Only one of them was an actual employee. None of these people had contracts. None of these people actually, like, signed anything. No wonder, like, people sign, like, non-disclosure agreements, because it's all petty BS. Like, it's so much more than what I thought it was, and that makes it so much worse for Change the Channel, because I knew it was BS. I didn't realize how BS it was. Like, how petty every single one of these people was. I thought it was just about sexist jokes. It was so much more petty than that. It's just like, my God. They literally all destroyed their careers for nothing. They burned their goodwill with Doug, who loved each and every one of them, wrote them each personal letters, thanking them for their contribution to their anniversary video. One of them, anyways. Like, he considered these people his friends. And I'm amazed. And Linkara, he complains about, like, the R joke, which wasn't an R joke. And they went out of their way to make it as goofy and as family safe as possible. And it's like the Borg. Like, at one point someone mentions that the Borg violate people. They violate their minds, they violate their independence, they violate their bodies. It's not R, it's not a grape thing. They are literally assimilating you and taking you in and, like, destroying everything that makes you you, and using your knowledge against the people you love and care about. Like, they're literal parasites taking away your free will. So any joke that includes assimilation, like the Borg do, is going to come off extremely awkward, but it is not, like, full on, like, they don't do it because they get, like, off on it. They do it because they're trying to improve themselves at the cost of the individual. And Linkara knows that for a fact because he reviewed the Star Trek movies. He knows what the Borg is. They aren't grapes. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows what the Borg's deal is. He knows that. And yet, he kept equating this joke to our stuff. And it's just like, no. And then there was another one where a guy, this one was, like, less petty, but it was apparently one of the shareholders, one of the stakeholders, went out and was drunk as hell and started to, like, sexually harass one of the male employees, I think. Like, I heard you're gay, I heard you want, like dick in your mouth or whatever. And, like, he was, like, talking to this guy, like, sending him messages on Skype. And, like, this creator reached out to, what's his name, Michael, I think, yeah, Michael. And, like, Michael's like, oh my God, he's doing this stuff? Oh my, that's horrible. Okay, let me talk to him. And then the creator never heard from that creep ever again. And eventually he was fired. Now, keep in mind, some of the controversy was that the dude wasn't fired immediately. But you have to remember, the dude's a stakeholder, which means there's a lot of legal legal loops you have to jump through in order to fire a stakeholder, because they have, like, legitimate, like, financial investment in the company. You can't just get rid of them. So it took a while, but they eventually could get rid of him and fire him. But the guy in the document, like the content creator, and I don't remember his name, complains in the document that this happened to him. And then he mentions Michael. I'm really unsure about that name because, again, their grievances against the CEO were so petty that the CEO's very name didn't stick in my head, because the CEO's name is so irrelevant to the whole thing, because they're like, oh, but the CEO did this and this and this, and it's each and every one of them is so petty that, like, if the CEO came off as a complete, like, jackass, his name probably would have stuck in my mind, but it just didn't, because every complaint they had about the CEO was so petty that I'm just like, why are they trying to throw this guy under the bus specifically? It sounds like he was just overloaded with work and, like, he couldn't talk to them, like, 24/7. And some of them were outright avoiding him. And then they complained, like, one of the female contributors said that, like, she avoided him for months at a time and then complained that he didn't listen to her complaints. And it's just the hypocrisy of it all. It's just horrendous. Like, I'm very animated right now because this bread, like, the breathes bread, Jesus Christ. I'm not being bred, guys. I'm not. I'm not being bred. Oh, dear Lord. This breathed, like, new life into, like, me personally, because it's just like, wow, did I miss a lot. I'm trying to put myself, like, what if I had been 22? No, wait, how old would I have been in 2018? I would have been 25 or so. If I was there at that time and I had been and I had somehow decided to be a producer for Channel Awesome, and I had been swept up in all this, like, what side would I have taken? Would I have contributed to the Change the Channel document? Or would I have been one of the 3 people maybe, that stayed on Channel Awesome? And it's hard for me to say because my life at the time, well, I was in the military at the time, but I was going through stuff at that time as well. I think that I would have been just so off my gourd mentally that maybe I would have taken the Change the Channel people's, like, side in all of this. And I hate to say that I might have been tricked by them if I had known about this and I had been a part of that, like, group of people. But I'm kind of glad I got my mental, like, health or whatever together so I can make these videos to talk about the retrospective of what was going on and talk about, like, modern controversies. Because if I had been out of my gourd like I was in 2017 trying to do while I was under horrible stress by the military, trying to make videos, and then join in this controversy, dude, I don't even know what I would have been doing, but God. But, like, the guy in the document says that one of the stakeholders sexually harassed him. I mean, not technically. Sexual harassment indicates that you have been, there's been multiple instances of somebody coming after you many, many times. Like, sexual harassment is not one event. It is multiple events happening to you over and over and over again. So I'm not even sure this counts as sexual harassment, but it's definitely highly inappropriate and disgusting what the guy was doing. So the dude complains that he got hit on by one of the stakeholders. So he complains to the CEO, and the CEO is like, okay, I'll handle it. And then the content creator never gets messaged again by the creep. And eventually that creep gets fired after like they deal with all the legal issues having to do with him being a stakeholder. And then the producer, that's what they're called. They're producers. They worked independently. They were unpaid employees, basically, making ad revenue off the site. He then complains that he got sexually harassed and that the company dealt with the issue in a very efficient and logical manner by making sure the creep never contacted him again, and the creep eventually got fired. Like, what the hell is he complaining about? It's mind-boggling. Just how petty. Just how really petty they are. But I want to go on for another hour. But, like, half-hour videos are basically my limit on this, so... And again, a lot of the complaints really didn't stick in my head. I might rewatch Nettles' work on this, so I can come back for a second go to complain about, like, specific stuff. But I'm going to say this now. In one of my previous videos, I talked about how maybe I'll interview some of the Channel Awesome creators and ask them, like, their point of view and try to get, like... I'm going to talk about what happened with Cinematic Venom. And Cinematic Venom eventually reformed himself, it seems like. I'm not sure. Not 100%. But he seemed like he figured out his life. And Nettles reveals that at the end of his video on Venom. And I don't know if he actually did. Maybe he just turned off of YouTube for a while, just like I had to do for like 6 months. And until I found my, like, Zen zone. But yeah, that's going to be an entire video on itself, just talking about that. But I'm going to leave this one here. My God. It is so much worse than I ever thought. It is so funny, too. Listening to this, because the entire time I'm just like... before I watch the Nettles videos or listen to them, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling kind of lonely today. I don't want to watch Star Trek. I don't want to watch political videos. Thank you so much, whoever recommended the Nettles videos. It brought up my mood so much, just listening to how insane these people were. God, it made me feel like my life is all together, and I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to get in contact with my boys in the military, and my God, like, that was a morale boost and a half. Thank you. Thank you so much. My morale was in the toilet this morning because I had a stupid dream, and it's just, my God. Well, my mental health is not always perfect. Like, I have ups and downs like everybody else, but my God, dude, whoever you were in my comment section that mentioned the Nettles videos, you made my day. You made my day. Nettles, thank you so much. You're never going to watch this. Thank you. Thank you for your videos. Because, my God, I am smiling so much right now. Just, oh my God, I love being right. That, my God, my instincts were so correct that they attacked Doug for no reason. They stabbed him in the back for no reason. My God. My God. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm in the dark again. You can't see my face in the video, so I'm going to call it. Bye, guys. Before this is 35 minutes. Oh, my God.